Lara is focused on the development of new regulated and unregulated ecosystem service markets and growing support for natural infrastructure on agricultural lands. Prior to her work with ALUS, Lara worked at the Ivy Foundation, Nature Canada, and CPAW's Wildlands League, promoting forest conservation, protected areas, and sustainable resource use. Lara has been a great supporter of our ALUS program at our St. Rosa Watershed District, and I'm very pleased to welcome Lara to the stage today.
Hi everybody, it's really nice to be here, especially because my teenagers are not, and I've been locked in a house with them for too many months. It's our pleasure to support this conference, and I'm just going to take a few minutes to update everybody about what ALUS is up to, and then I'll be introducing a fellow, a colleague in conservation, Mike Nemeth from Nutrien. So as I hope all of you know, ALUS is a great idea that came out of Manitoba, born and bred here. I'm starting with the pilot project in Blanchard and now established in 2 communities, Jody's community, St. Rosa, and also in Assiniboine West, which was formerly the Little Saskatchewan River Watershed District. We're now in 33 communities across Canada. We grow by about 2 communities a year. We are a federally registered charity, and we are continuing to expand as there's so much demand for nature-based solutions and a positive way to work with agricultural producers. So ALUS brings together support from philanthropic foundations, government, and corporations, all aggregated to bring us the most outcomes in the most efficient way. We recently announced last year a major corporate initiative with Cargill, where we're working with producers across the prairies to help Cargill meet its international GHG emission reduction goals. That's a sort of partnership that we're looking forward to establishing more in the future to match funds like GROW in Manitoba and other funds that are available elsewhere to help us reach all of our mutual goals. With that, I am going to introduce Mike Nemeth, the next speaker. So Mike's background is in environmental science, sustainable development, hydrology, agriculture, climate change assessment and impacts, risk management, and in government and Indigenous relations, which is making me feel very unqualified, I must say, in relation. He received his Bachelor of Science with distinction in environmental science and a Master of Science with a concentration in hydrology from the University of Lethbridge. In his current role at Nutrien, Mike leads and supports internal and external efforts to deliver on Nutrien's sustainability strategy, including implementation of Nutrien's carbon program and pilots. He is also leading Nutrien's global water stewardship efforts and supporting efforts on biodiversity. He is registered as a professional agrologist and as an environmental professional. He currently serves on the board of directors for Inside Education and Field to Market Canada and is an advisory board member for the Alliance for Water Stewardship North America.
Thanks, Lara. So, there we go. Is that better? So thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you to Ma. It's great to be able to be here, meet people, see people in person, see people that I've only seen on screens in the past. So appreciate being able to be here to learn with you guys. And I just wanted to take a few moments just to talk about what Nutrien's doing in terms of waters globally, and then a project that we're working on here in Manitoba. So Nutrien, for those of you who don't know, is the world's largest integrated agricultural company. We have kind of 4 interrelated business units. We're a large fertilizer producer, so we have our NPK, as it's known, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium business units that produce and sell fertilizer all over the world. And then we have our retail network, which really distinguishes us and kind of puts us in a unique position as we interact with growers in our key business unit areas for retail in Canada, the US, Australia, and then 5 countries in South America. And through that retail network, we're able to work with growers directly using our agronomists to be able to provide not just crop inputs like seeds, fertilizer, crop protection products, but also use of digital technology and expert advice to be able to maximize growers' profits, but also do them in a more sustainable manner. So Nutrien, I guess Amanda talked earlier this morning, and we have our booth, so come by and talk to us. But Amanda mentioned one of our flagship educational programs, which is Caring for Our Watersheds. That is offered in Canada, the US, and Argentina currently. It's been in progress for about 10 years now, and it's a great program. I actually force our kids to do it. They're thrilled when I hand them the form and make sure they go talk to their science teachers. So feel free to do that with your kids as well. But it's great, and I think the best part is having been a member of a WPAC, a Watershed Planning and Advisory Council group in Alberta. It's great to be able to work with watershed districts or WPACs, to be able to work with the students to actually implement their ideas. So great opportunity for both the students and for watershed districts. And then on the screen is just some other educational programs and games. So Farmers 50 and Global Hero are both games that help educate people about farming, feeding the future, and doing it in a sustainable manner. So I wanted to talk about Nutrien's approach to water stewardship. So when we talk about water stewardship, I like to think about it as the watershed approach, meaning that we think about everything in a watershed. So within the defined boundary of a watershed, there's various places, industry, people, activities, and everything flows to a common point. And so being able to think about it in the context of what's the needs of that watershed, being able to look outside of your operational fence line, whether you're a farm, whether you're a food processor, whether you're a municipality, whatever your footprint is, you're part of that watershed. And so being able to think, looks at our operational facilities, our retail footprint, need to mitigate our water-related risks, and then what are some of the opportunities we have to address challenges with the people in the watersheds where we operate. So having that approach to water stewardship is really key, and being able to look outside your fence line, which is the watershed approach to water stewardship that Nutrien has brought to agriculture. And we can do that because, once again, we have direct influence at the farm field. So beyond just being able to sell products, our retail agronomists actually work with the growers to develop strategies and techniques and practices to be able to offer opportunities for growers to make changes on the landscape, to be able to do everything from farm water management, which not so much in Alberta or in Western Canada, but also in Australia, where we actually have a line of business called Nutrien Water, where we physically go on the farms and actually do the irrigation infrastructure. But we don't have that in Canada. But we do. We promote services and advice that improve water use efficiency for those that irrigate, reduce potential for nitrogen or nutrient loss to groundwater and surface water. We have land management, which are things that we partner with groups like ALUS and Unlimited and others to be able to not just identify marginal cropping areas with technology, but be able to offer opportunities to change those into maybe habitat or forages or something that's a bit more sustainable for that land and can also provide a better ROI or return on investment for growers. Then we have nutrient management. Again, that's products such as slow-release fertilizers, technology, and then the 4 R's, so proper management and placement of those fertilizers, when to do it, how to do it, what's the source, and being able to work with growers at that level, as well as other land management things that are good for soils. So cover cropping, intercropping, no-till practices. All of these practices create positive environmental outcomes, whether they're water, whether they're carbon, so sequestering carbon dioxide, or even reducing emissions, and even biodiversity. So in looking at collective water stewardship action. There's a recent project that started up, which is part of the reason why I'm here today, to be able to engage with all of you. And so this is a pilot project that's in partnership with ALUS, BASF, and General Mills. Nutrien has been working to kind of get off the ground going over the last, I'd say, almost a year. But we got some seed funding in place, and then understand how we want to approach this. But it's a pilot project that takes a more formal approach to water stewardship at the farm level, and being able to understand with growers how do you implement a more formal process for water stewardship that creates value on the farm, but also creates value in the agricultural supply chain. So if we can engage the agricultural supply chain effectively to be able to make changes on the farm, that creates resilience on the farm. It also creates value for the grower, and that translates into sustainability benefits for members of the supply chain. So we want to make sure that we're partnering, because you can't do water stewardship in isolation or by yourselves. So we're partnering in 2 watershed districts to start, with the Senrat-Roseau watershed district, and then also the Red Boyne. And this is all based on funding and opportunities for matching grants, which we're looking for, and we hope to be able to expand this. But really, we want to be able to understand, how does water stewardship work? How do we engage others? And then how do we scale that, not just to watersheds in Manitoba, watersheds upstream, further upstream, when you think about everything that flows into Lake Winnipeg. You know, you have watersheds in Alberta and Saskatchewan, everything flows in, and then beyond that, in the US. So this is the Lake Winnipeg Basin project, and so we're happy to talk to you about this. Lara and Alice are kind of project managing this project for us, which is great. So we're certainly looking forward to being able to understand how to do this, and how to do it with not just producers and growers on the ground, but also watershed districts and governments and municipalities, to be able to understand, how do you do this, how do you do it effectively, so that the trade-offs are managed so that everybody can win as much as possible. And with that, I'll leave it for time for a few questions if you have any. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I know we're really looking forward to working with you guys and seeing what all that translates onto the ground. Anyone else have any questions or comments that you wanted to make with Mike here today, or to Lara? You do have a booth, you said? Yeah. Yes. Booth 10. Trivia question. Do you know how long the trade show is open tonight? No, I don't know. You got a booth. What are your hours, Mike? 4:30. Okay. So you might, if you run, you might make it after this session. If not, tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Let's give it a round for Mike and Lara again. Thanks.